student scientists. My name is Tiffany Sanford, and I have been a judge at the Austin Regional Science Festival for more than 15 years. To help you prepare for the Regional Science Festival, my fellow judges and I have created this video to walk you through the judging process and the criteria that will be used to judge your project. Your project will be judged by a team of judges that are professionals in your field of research. They may come to you individually or in small groups, but all of them will be evaluating your project on the same criteria they will use for all of the other projects in your category. After they speak to everyone, they will meet to discuss the projects and jointly rank them for any awards. So now let's discuss what that judging criteria is. Criteria number one is the question you are answering or the problem you're trying to solve. So basically the goal of your project. The judges will want to know how you came up with the idea for your project. For example, do you have a personal connection with your project? Is it something you saw in the news or something with a family member that gave you the idea? This is something that they would love to hear from you. And what do you want to achieve from your research? Let us know how your project will benefit society or further understanding of science. If you're doing an experiment, we need to know what your hypothesis is and make sure that that hypothesis includes what you think the outcome of your experiment will be. And it's also important to note, if you're doing an engineering project, be sure to clearly state your goal of the project. Criteria number two is the design and methodology of your project. This is where you will tell the judges your plan and how you will test your hypothesis or how you will test your engineering goal. If you are conducting a scientific experiment, be sure to define your constant and your variables. So you need to determine how many variables you will have and how many trials you will run with each of them. Please remember that it takes 3 trials at a minimum to be a valid experiment, but we will encourage you to do more than 3 because that will give you more power in your results. If you're working in life sciences, you should have a control with each trial and make sure that the test is functioning properly. If you are working with human subjects, let us know what criteria you are using to select your participants and why you selected them. If it is an engineering project, how many prototypes will you build? And it is important to understand if you are testing different materials or just testing different techniques with the same materials. Be sure to let your judges know those different distinctions so it will help us understand what you're doing. Criteria 3 is execution. The judges will be using this criteria to determine how well you executed your plan that we discussed up in criteria 2. They will be looking to see if you executed your plan correctly, that you were safe, and that you generated enough data to make the conclusions you are making. They will also be looking to see if you considered all of the variables that may have affected your experiment. Depending on your project, that might include things like the weather, the time of day, variations in the materials you are using, or the number or age of your participants. It is important to acknowledge all of these variables that may have affected your data. For graphs of data, be sure to include statistical analysis on the graphs. This is particularly important for high school scientists. If you aren't sure how to do your statistical analysis, be sure to reach out to your math teacher. I'm sure they'll be willing to help you. Criteria 4 is creativity. Since you are in middle or high school, chances are your area of research has been studied before. So the judges will be looking for your unique approach to the problem. Be sure to research what other people have already done in your chosen subject, and if you agree or disagree with what those scientists found. Tell the judges how your approach is different from what other scientists did. Maybe your approach is easier, faster, or provides a better outcome. Let us know what is different and why you think it is better. I'm going to pause here for a second because there's a really important thing that we need to remind you here, and that is to give credit to your mentors. Working with mentors is great, and we highly encourage you to do so, but you must let the judges know what part of the project you did independently and what parts you had helped with. Make sure you identify everything on your project board as well as in your interview, because that is a really important part. We cannot award projects that were not done by you. And it's great to have mentors, but you have to let us know that they helped you. For all of you that are not working with mentors, do not be concerned. The judges are interested in understanding what work you have done and how much you have learned. All projects are judged based on the work of the student scientist alone. Criteria number 5 is your presentation. This criteria includes your display board and your interview with the judges. Judges will expect your board to be well organized so that they or someone else can read it without you being present and still understand your problem statement, your hypothesis, your process, and your conclusions. Be sure to keep your board clear and understandable. It only needs the major points you're trying to make. You can keep additional data and photos in your lab book and in front of your board. The layout should follow the logical flow of your experiment or your design, so judges can see the progression of your work. The board should only contain an overview, which is legible and informative. And when we say legible, we mean to be careful with your font. You don't want to use tiny font where the judges are having to lean in and squint to look at your data. For the interview, judges will have already read your abstract before they come to your board, but they will want to hear a summary from you when they get there. So be ready to provide a 1 to 2 minute opening statement about your project. This should include what you did, why you did it, why you think that's important, how you did it, and what you found out. After they hear that, they're going to have questions for you. So you need to be prepared to answer questions. Try to think of questions ahead of time. Give your presentation to your teacher or to some friends and see what questions they ask you. Be prepared to answer those questions. If you do not know the answer to the question, don't worry. It's fine to say, I don't know, or I would like to look into that in the future. Judges will only have about 10 minutes for each interview. So if you take too long in your discussion, we will cut you off and start asking you questions that we want to know specifically. A very important thing we need to discuss about the interview portion is for those of you who are doing a team project. It is very important that every single team member does a portion of the presentation and that every single team member is able to answer questions. Be sure that you practice with your team to make sure that you are sharing the presentation equally, and make sure that each of you can answer questions. Because if you have one person that's answering all the questions, the judges will say, we do not want to hear from that person. We want to hear from this other person. So make sure everyone is comfortable with what you did. Also important for your interview is to make sure that you dress professionally. As I mentioned before, all of the judges are professionals in your field of study. And so you want to dress for that part that you will hopefully be in one day. Make sure you wear comfortable shoes because you'll be standing all day, as will your judges. So we want to make sure that everyone's comfortable and able to just communicate with each other about science. At the end, we will thank you for your time and also ask you what you would like to do in the future. So that is one thing that you need to also consider for your presentation, is what you would like to do to improve on your project in the future. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have been doing this for over 15 years. I love talking to young scientists, and so do my fellow judges. I am telling you this because I want you to just relax and have fun. We have all been in your shoes early in our careers. Good luck at the fair, and I can't wait to meet you.